Well, hey there, welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the channel if you're already subscribed. In this video, I'm going to show you a compilation of my older videos I think would be perfect for Valentine's Day. I haven't really celebrated Valentine's Day in the past decade, just because that's one of the busier times in any restaurant, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy your Valentine's Day with your significant other. And what I've done is curated some past videos that I think would be perfect for a Valentine's meal, whether it be just a side for a nice steak or the actual entree itself. I don't think you'll go wrong with having any of these on your table, and I'm almost certain that your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever will enjoy it too. So whether you're trying to impress somebody with your cooking skills or you just want to have something delicious for that special person in your life, try a couple of them out and have a nice Valentine's Day. This first one is quite simple. I called it the Land, Sea, and Air Kabob. If you have a grill, if you have a smoker, you could do it inside too. It's really easy and it's a great presentation to share with your loved one.
Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef, aka Kabob. Today's video is more for a celebration and technique than it is a recipe. What am I celebrating? I just hit 10,000 followers on Instagram. If you follow me on there, thank you for being a part of my life and adventures. I've had the account for 2 years now and my life is much different than what it was when I started. I really hope you're enjoying it as well. I'm also close to hitting 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm pretty excited about as well. If you have suggestions as to what you'd like me to see to do for 10,000 followers special, leave that in the comments. But for now, I want to celebrate my Instagram 10K followers by doing something for myself. I decided to go camping and make myself a little dinner at the campground. This isn't anything special, but it is absolutely delicious. These Land, Sea, and Air Kabobs are going to hit the spot. Start off with some sort of beef. I suggest ribeye, sirloin, tenderloin, or something like this Terrace Major that I'm using here. This is just the tender part of the chuck, and it's super beefy. Clean up the silver skin and dice it up into bite-sized pieces. I season this with some SPG plus butter from Grillaholics. Go check them out at grillaholics.com and use my coupon code TRASHCHEESE to save 20% off your entire order. Mix this up and set it aside. If you're wondering how I'm keeping my hands clean, I have plenty of paper towels, all natural surface cleaner, and some hand sanitizer. So try not to worry about my food safety here if you are. For the air part of the skewers, I use chicken tenderloins. I season these up with the same seasoning as the beef, but I also went with about a half teaspoon of smoked paprika. Mix that up, and now we can move to the sea part of this kebab. For that, we're using shrimp. If you have your shrimp in a Ziploc bag, just throw some of the seasoning directly on top with about a quarter teaspoon of Old Bay. You'll ideally want all of these meats to rest and marinate for about 15 minutes before adding them to your skewers. Speaking of skewers, mine are way too long. I don't have a grill or an area to make a fire here, so I'm just going to use a saute pan and a burner. Just break your skewers down to fit in your pan. Nice. Now let's get ready for our mantra. Land, sea, air. Got it? Ready? Go. Land, sea, air. Land, sea, air. Land, sea, air. Land, sea, air. And done. Place a pan over medium-high heat and add in about 1 tablespoon of oil of choice. The way to cook these is until the chicken is done. If you want to do what I did, I stuck a thermometer in and pulled it once the chicken was at 150 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time it was done, my steak was medium and my shrimp was perfectly cooked. Repeat cooking all of these until they're all done. I brought along some soy sauce and sriracha to make a sauce. With your pan off and still hot, add in 2 tablespoons of soy sauce or liquid aminos and scrape the fond off the bottom of the pan. Once it's calmed down, add in a tablespoon of sriracha and mix well. I decided mine needed a little bit more flavor, so I added a quarter teaspoon of onion powder to this. And that's it. Like I said, just simple food in this video. Let's take this first bite, which is for my Patreon community. If you're interested in joining, the link is in the description below. Instead of commentating on how good this is, I'll let you assume that it is, because it is. I just wanted to take this time to say thank you. Thank you for watching my videos, thank you for participating in my comments section, and thank you for the support. I have legitimately enjoyed the process of making these videos and learning what I do and don't like to make. I realized at the beginning of this year that I really liked making recipes videos, and I decided that I wanted to make 2 a week. And that's been a great decision for me. I'm still interested in making different content, but I'm more interested in the challenge it takes for me to come up with something twice a week. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my rambling. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll see y'all soon.
Alright, the next one up is Carbonara Deviled Eggs. If you're looking for something just rich and really delicious, this is going to be your best option out of all of these. And it's honestly one of the more unique out of all of these as well. Again, if you're trying to impress, this is the one to make.
To start this one, I'm going to show you how Chef John from Food Wishes taught me to boil eggs. Grab yourself a pot or a pan and add in about 1 inch of water. Place the pan over high heat and bring it to a hard boil. Once it's boiling, carefully place your eggs in. If you drop one in and it starts to get a little too excited, pull it out real quick and replace it with another less cheerful egg. You can cover this with a lid if you have one, but I don't, so I just used another pan. You want to steam this for about 12 minutes. Let's set up an ice bath for their after sauna session. This is what's called shocking the eggs, and it lets them know that they're about to be eaten without actually having to say it. Now that we have existential eggs, we need to get some bacon, preferably pancetta, and cut it into lardon. Now that you've got a solid lardon, show it off by throwing it into a pan over medium-high heat along with about a quarter cup of water. We add the water because this will allow for maximum extraction of bacon grease. While we're at it, add in about a half teaspoon of coarse ground black pepper. I enjoy a really peppery carbonara, so feel free to reduce the pepper content if you want. This time, I suggest that you cook your bacon until crispy. We'll be blending it up later and want it to stand out with its texture. The cooked components are done, so we can work on some assembly. Let's crack those eggs open. I like to crack the egg all the way around, on top, and on the bottom. I'm not sure if it's from being steamed or how I crack the eggs, but the shells strip away about 67% all the time. Looky here, perfect. Here's a closer look for those that need it. Here's an even closer look so that you can see the pores of the egg. Honestly, I'm impressed that I peeled that with one hand. So I'm going to make these almost like I'd make an actual carbonara, by emulsifying egg yolks and cheese. Please follow my words and written recipe as I went buck wild in the video section of this with my portion sizes. To blend, you'll want to add in 3 egg yolks, half your cooked bacon, 1 ounce of grated Parmesan cheese, and 3 tablespoons of bacon grease that is still relatively warm. Oh, almost forgot to get the other egg yolks in there. Add all of your boiled egg yolks. Put this into a blender and blend on low until everything is smooth and homogeneous. In the recipe below, I'll be sure to give you measurements for a 12-pack of eggs. After it's blended, taste for salt and pepper and adjust as you see fit. Mine was perfect. Scoop this out into a piping bag or a Ziploc bag that badly wants to be a piping bag when it grows up. Cut the tip off and pipe in your mixture. You can go pretty tall with these because there's plenty of extras in the yolk mixture. Top this with the rest of your crispy bacon and finish it off with some freshly cracked black pepper. And there it is, carbonara in side dish form. You could definitely cream this out with some cream cheese if you want, and if you find yourself with way too thick of an egg mixture, add a little splash of heavy cream because that goes a long way. Hope you enjoyed this one and see y'all next time.
This video is sponsored by my company, Carnivore Companion. I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos, you know about us. We have unique seasonings with clean ingredients. This one is spicy ranch. It's got a nice ranch flavor with a kick of jalapeno, makes a great dip, awesome on chicken wings, makes a great hamburger on the grill, can't go wrong. And the other one I like to feature is the smokestack. If you haven't tried it, it's just a great all-purpose smoky seasoning. My favorite thing to do with this is to put chicken thighs into an Instant Pot and just let it shred. It tastes like I'm having shredded smoked chicken. If you want to check us out, there's a link in the description below, or you can go to carnivorecompanion.com. Use code CarnivorousLove for 15% off your entire order and start turning your ordinary meats into extraordinary feasts. I like to think about like pasta dishes whenever I think Valentine's Day. It feels like a nice and easy, but also decadent way to celebrate the day. And since we don't have much in the way of pasta, I do have a mac and cheese recipe, but I didn't include that here. I think a good chicken parm would be a good option as your main entree, just because it's decadent, it's got plenty of protein. It'll make you feel great without all the carbs in your body slowing you down.
Hey there, my meaty friends. Today I'll be making chicken parmesan, or chicken parm for short, or charm for even shorter. Chicken parm became popularized in the Northeast by Italian immigrants in the 1950s. The typical chicken parm consists of chicken cutlet that's breaded and fried, topped with sauce, and then cheese melted on top. We are not going to stray from this. We're going to start with this recipe by taking a chicken breast and butterflying it. Feel free to remove any weird looking pieces if you so desire. Once you have your breast cheeks spread wide open, lay down a sheet of plastic wrap. Then, lay another sheet of plastic on top of that. If you have a meat mallet, use the flat side to flatten this to about a 1/4 inch thickness all over. You can also use a heavy bottom pan or a rolling pin to do this as well. Once it's flattened, we can move over to the oven and get the sauce started. I'll be using my Marin Alfredo recipe, which you can find in my cookbook, Becoming a Carnivore Chef. Simply place a pan over medium heat along with 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, a half teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a half teaspoon of granulated garlic. Let all this toast for about 1 minute in the butter. After that minute, add about 1 cup of heavy cream or half and half. Season it up with a half teaspoon of salt. Once it starts to boil, reduce the heat to low and start sprinkling in a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. You want to add this slowly, a little at a time to keep the sauce from breaking and for being too lumpy. By the time you've added in all your cheese, you should be left with slightly orange sauce that tastes like an herb-filled Alfredo. Remove that from the heat and set aside while we get this hot breading action going. Add about 2 ounces of ground pork rinds to a plate. On another plate, crack an egg onto it and pour over about 3 tablespoons of cream or half and half. Add a quarter cup of grated Parmesan to your pork rinds and use those dirty paws to combine. Fork the egg and cream until homogeneous. Now, take your slim chicken breast and place it into your egg and cream mixture. Make sure to coat both sides and let the excess drip off. Then go into your cheesy pork rinds and start to press this in. If your pork rinds aren't sticking perfectly, you can also just pick up the pork rinds and stick them to the chicken by hand. This is also called the manual chicken stick, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Once your imperfect chicken is coated, bring it over to a pan that's set to medium-high heat with 3 tablespoons of butter melting. Once your butter is melted, carefully add your breaded chicken to the pan and cook for 2 to 3 minutes or until a nicely golden brown on one side. This is so thin that we're not going to take very long to cook, so flipping it and letting it cook for another 2 to 3 minutes should suffice. Once you're satisfied with doneness, remove it from the pan and place it into a silpat or foil-lined baking sheet. Top this chicken with your sauce, ensuring you coat it well. Then follow it up by shredding 2 ounces of low-moisture mozzarella, and then a light sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. Place this into your oven on low broil for about 2 to 4 minutes or until golden brown. Don't forget about it like I did because, as you can see, the edges and the pan are very angry about that. Remove this from the pan and be amazed by the golden brownness of it all. This tastes like chicken parm's cousin, chicken rich. Not to be confused with chicken shit, because holy shit, this is rich. But if you're looking for chicken parm, it hits the spot.
Alright, this charcuterie board is a great option to have just as like your entire thing. There's a lot going on to this particular charcuterie board, and the recipe is the bacon cheese ball itself, but all these items are going to be a great option just to like have set out. If you wanted to keep it super casual, this is a really good one for you.
To start, I suggest getting yourself a decent looking cutting board to build your charcuterie board on. For now, let's slap some bacon onto it. Cook your bacon in an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 18 minutes or until crispy. Feel free to use the power of the snap if you have that ability. Once it's cooked, chop all of it pretty finely and separate into 2 even piles. Throw one of those piles into a bowl along with 1 block of cream cheese. Season this up with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic, a 1/4 teaspoon of granulated onion, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried parsley, which is optional, and finally a 1/4 cup or 1 ounce of sharp cheddar. Mix this up by hand if the cream cheese is still cold, but if you let it hit room temperature, you can mix it up via rubber spatula. Just mash this together for a couple minutes, and once it's all combined, roll it into a ball. Once ballage has been achieved, spread out your chopped bacon and roll the ball around in it. You should have just enough to coat the whole thing, and it's just beautiful. The last step is to take some cling film and wrap the ball up. Then twist the plastic until it's tight and place it into the fridge for about an hour to stiffen up. Okay, charcuterie board 101 here. I want a focal point, and the bacon cheese ball is mine. You can place it anywhere, but all eyes will lead to the first thing you place down. I put mine dead center, but going at any offset would look nice too. I like to highlight my focal point with other things. For this, I went with sliced bratwurst, but something like brisket or steak slices would be nice here too. I think every charcuterie I make has goat's cheese. Place this down anywhere along with a few pork rinds. These deli trios are delightful and also something I put on every charcuterie. There are plenty of things you can do with these meats, from the infinite spin to the rose or just laying it out flat, or just a couple of the things I like to do. The rose looks particularly nice, but it's not the most practical because of the toothpick. I also enjoy a nice soft cheese like brie or camembert. A full wheel of brie always seems to be a bit much, so I'm gonna just go with half. Fancy ham will always make me happy to see on any meat and cheese tray. I just put this down in bunches and scatter randomly. It's one of those things you usually don't realize you picked up until you bite into it and you have the salty reminder that it's prosciutto. I wonder if I should make a joke about cutting the cheese. Nah. Finally, I'm gonna add some smoked cheddar. I enjoy smoked cheese like this or smoked Gouda paired with my spicy meats. Finish up by placing pork rinds anywhere you see fit. This turned out so nice and extravagant. I will be taking this to a party, but I do need to know how delicious this bacon and cheese ball turned out. And oh boy, did it deliciify. Creamy, smoky, salty, and flavorful. You can add any more adjectives you'd like to in the comments.
This one might be one of my favorites just because I've made this plenty of times in the past. It's just a nice, quick chicken dish that anybody will like, to be honest. You make this on a weeknight or, on any occasion, but I think this would make a great Valentine's entree.
Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. I needed a small escape from my ground pork rind heaven for a bit. So, my goal with this recipe was simplicity, value, and flavor.
and this achieves it fully. I can think of at least 5 variations on this recipe right off the bat, so feel free to play around with it. Add different seasonings, different wines, and the sort. Anyways, let's finger moonwalk into this piece and get started. Oh yeah, smooth. Let me grab something real quick. I picked chicken thighs because it's high in protein and chicken thighs. It's also just super cheap. Let me grab my travel oven and get that set up real quick. Go ahead and blast this over medium-high heat. I suggest you use cast iron for this one because it's definitely going to help with the crustification of our skins. The chicken skins, not your skins. Remove the grocery store wrapper off your chicken. This pan should really be slightly smoking, but I'm impatient. This one can hold 6 fairly large chicken thighs. Place them skin side down so we can get a real nice sear, Clark. You're going to want to season these up as well. I probably went with about a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt per chicken thigh. It's a little hard to tell, but since I'm going to be cooking these in a seasoned sauce, I'm not too worried about the exact measurements here. You could think a big pinch per thigh and it'll likely be enough. I also went with some black pepper on each one. 5 to 6 twists of some fresh cracked black pepper should be plenty. That's small pinches per chicken thigh for those of you using already ground pepper. Now we do the stand around and wait game. Here are the rules if you want to play this at home. Rule number 1, stand around. Rule number 2, make sure the kitchen isn't on fire. Rule number 3, rule number 4, wait. If you break rule number 2, you've lost the game. After playing this game for about 5 minutes, my chickies are ready to flip. They should all flip fairly easily. If one is stuck, it's still searing, and that one needs to sit a little longer on the hot surface. Once they're all flipped, sear them on the other side for just a minute, and we need to move them to a plate to work on the sauce. There's a ton of chicken fat here. While that sounds nice, it's going to make for a greasy sauce that'll break later on. Take you a couple paper towels and remove about 85% of this fat. Like all of my recipes, it's highly important that you hit exactly 85% absorption of the fat. Failure to do so will result in breaking rule 2. Next up, grab some white wine. Nothing too fancy, just something drinkable. With your pan off, add in a 1/2 cup and begin scraping the bottom of the pan to remove the fond, or the bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pan for those of you who don't know what that is. This is just extra flavor. Your pan should be plenty hot enough if you're using cast iron. After about 30 seconds of scraping, turn your heat to medium and let the rest of the alcohol cook out for about 30 more seconds. Add 1.5 cups of chicken broth or stock, followed by 1 cup of heavy cream. Bring this to a light boil and reduce it until it's just simmering. Keep an eye on it because it will boil over if you're not careful. Add in a 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic. Mix it in and give it a taste. I added 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt into mine, and then followed it up with about 20 twists of black pepper or about a 1/2 teaspoon. Spoon this with all your might and then give it a taste. Adjust as you see fit. You'll know this is thick enough if it coats the back of a spoon. It's finally time to place your chicken thighs back into this creamy slop. When you place them in, keep them skin side up this time. Skin side down will result in a very sad read, aka CarnivorousChef. You don't want to make me sad, do you? You'll really make me sad if you don't add in the juices left on the plate. This is the vanilla extract of the chicken. Once it's simmering again, you can turn the heat off and get ready to place it in the oven. Now, I'm fortunate to be able to have an option for 2 ovens. However, this pan weighs like 35 pounds now, so carefully place it in. Cook this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius for 30 to 35 minutes or until the chicken reads 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 82 degrees Celsius at the bone. You want to cook dark meat to a higher temp because it allows for the connective tissue to break down and become more tender. Now, this skin is crispy. So crispy, my first instinct was to touch it. Just listen. Sounds like eggshells. And the sauce looks like sauce. Top this with parsley or chives if you want a nice presentation. I couldn't find chives, so I went with parsley. The chives would have been nicer, but you gotta work with what you got. I'm embarrassed to say that this took me about 6 tries to get 1 piece of chicken out of the pan. But as you see, I did it. Top that with a few spoons of your sauce afterwards. This plate's a bit too big to make showing it off look awesome, but I think it still looks pretty damn good. I'm ready to dig in and take this first bite for my Patreon community. Felt tender to cut, looks deeply caramelized and juicy, and damn, is it good. Rich and creamy, tender and juicy, and a few more adjectives. You could be rich and creamy too if you like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And here goes the pasta. This carnivore ravioli was really good. And the sauce I made is actually very light compared to a lot of other sauces I make. Just the lemon just kind of cuts a lot of that fattiness. While it is a heavy cream sauce, it's still light in taste. And it's really good.
Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef, aka Carnivore Boy RD. Sometimes when trying to turn something that's not carnivore into something that is carnivore, you run into some issues. Today I'm making ravioli, and I'm using the same carnivore noodle recipe I used from Ketogenic Woman for this recipe. I also used it in my cacio e pepe video. While the recipe is fantastic, it's still not real pasta dough. But with that said, after some persistence, I got pretty close to a ravioli I was happy with. I hope you'll be happy with it too. You're going to need a whole lot of Parmesan cheese for this recipe, and I recommend you grate your own for pretty much everything to be better. The base recipe for this carnivore noodle is as follows: 3 tablespoons of ground pork rinds, 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan, 1 ounce of cream cheese, and 3 eggs. I will be doubling up this recipe in order to get 2 large sheets of pasta. This should yield about 12 raviolis. This essentially blends up into a batter and should look rather thin. To cook this, let's grab a baking sheet along with a non-stick silicone baking mat. You can use parchment paper for this if you want, but there's a high probability that it'll stick to that. Pour about half of your batter into the middle of the mat and begin to spread it out using gravity. I was trying to get straight edges by using an offset spatula, but quit when I remembered that I can just trim it up later. Place this into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes in a convection oven or 7 to 9 minutes in a conventional oven. Set your timer and let's get started on this first filling. In the video, you'll see me using a lot more of the ingredients that I'm calling out. I also ended up with way too much filling. So, in a bowl, add in a half cup of whole milk ricotta cheese, 1 tablespoon of Parmesan, 2 slices of bacon that have been cooked and chopped, a pinch of black pepper, a half teaspoon of salt, and the zest of half a lemon. Mix and mash this together until well combined. Well, the first sheet's done. It should look a bit like this. Set it aside and do it one more again, and let's make our other filling. This next one is rather simple. Take about 6 ounces of beef and brown it up in crumbles. Season it with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and let it drain onto paper towels. Sorry for the riveting footage here, but add the beef to a blender along with 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese and a big splash of cream. Blend on high until well combined and then taste for seasoning. With both sheets of pasta done, let's get them cleaned up. You could totally save these scraps to snack on, that's what I did. This is the second time I've ever attempted to make ravioli. The first time went about the same. The biggest lesson I learned from the first time is that you don't want to overfill them. What's different about this carnivore pasta is that they don't want to stick together like normal pasta would. I struggled on the first batch, but it got better as I went. So, to do this, portion your filling, lay your second sheet over, cut out your raviolis, then dip the bottom of the top sheet in your egg wash. It's still not going to be a perfect seal, but it'll get pretty close. Place these all into your sheet tray again. Once you're finished prepping these, place them back into your still heated oven for about 5 to 7 minutes or until the seal is adhered. Now these look much better that they've been cooked, and I was super happy to see that. We still need a sauce, so let's just make up something. Place a pan over medium-high heat and add in a 1/3 cup of heavy cream, along with 1 ounce of cream cheese, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and the juice of half a lemon. Let this reduce and thicken slightly. Once it's at your desired viscosity, turn the heat off and add in 3 tablespoons of grated Parmesan. Whisk this and taste for seasoning. To plate this up, lay down a layer of your lemon Alfredo sauce first. Then, stack up your raviolis randomly. Then top that with more of your sauce. Feel free to top this with some optional chopped parsley and a little more black pepper. Let's take this first bite, which is for my Patreon community. The link is in the description below. If you're interested in joining, the link is in the description below. Okay, the cross sections are nice, and would you look at that, the flavors are nice too. The lemon Alfredo sauce made the dish feel much lighter, which was very nice, and the fillings were both delicious and desirable consistencies. You'd be a desirable consistency too if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel.
And for this last one, this is for anyone that just wants something simple. They can prep it ahead of time if they want to. You're not too worried about dinner, but you want to be able to eat and then maybe like hang out, watch a movie, celebrate Valentine's Day, however you want to do it. But I just wanted to put this option in here too, just in case somebody doesn't really have the time to be able to cook a full dinner. You can make this ahead of time and it's really tasty, and I think both of you will be happy.
At last, welcome viewer. I have here chicken and bacon. You choose the bacon and the story ends. You choose the chicken, and you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. But today, I suggest you choose both. That's right, chicken and bacon in a cohesive dish, including some ranch seasoning whose ingredients I'll leave on screen right now. Are you ready? Then let's get started. Place a pan over medium-high heat with 1 pound of bacon, and then add in about a half cup of water. Cooking the bacon in water will allow for maximum extraction of that precious bacon grease. Continue to stir and cook your bacon until that magical grease starts to foam up. This foam lets us know that the bacon will be crisp and chewy. It should look a bit like this. Remove the bacon and reserve all of this grease because up next we'll be adding our diced chicken breast. You should have approximately 2 pounds of chicken breast for this recipe. Cook this in batches over medium-high heat, ensuring to lightly season each batch. Remove this from the pan and then discard the bacon grease, or save it, whatever you want to do with it. What you're left with is a nice buildup of fond. Place this pan back over medium heat and add in 1 cup of cold heavy cream and your ranch mix. The cold cream will help to release the fond from the pan and add even more flavor to our dish. Just use a wooden spoon or rubber spatula to scrape the sides and the bottom of the pan. Once every bit of that delicious fond has been released, let your cream simmer and thicken. You'll know it's done if it coats the back of a spoon like this. Give it a taste and adjust your seasonings as necessary to your palate. Find a receptacle to build this casserole in. Now you can add your cooked chicken and bacon. Top that with about a half cup of shredded cheddar and mix to distribute evenly. Next up, add all of that ranch sauce and again, mix to incorporate. You can simply add the sauce when you add the cheese if you like. I'm unsure why I made it so difficult for myself here. For a bit of added crunch, I decided to crush up a few pork rinds to the top of my casserole. If you don't like the flavor of these, feel free to skip them. They add texture, but they do also add that flavor. Finish this hot dish up with a little more cheddar on top, and cook this in an oven that's set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes or until the top of your casserole has slightly browned. Let it cool off for a few minutes before serving. You can add a myriad of other things to the top of this if you're feeling spicy, but this dish stands on its own. It's super savory, the bacon adds a nice chew, the sauce is creamy and rich, and that little bit of pork rind added a nice crunch.
Alright, that's the video. Thank y'all so much for watching. And again, this video was sponsored by my company, Carnivore Companion. That link's below. Don't forget to use Carnivorous Love at checkout for 15% off your entire order. And if you like the video, give it a like, share this video with your friends, and I hope you have a great Valentine's Day. See y'all next time.